Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Newsmakers Live. I'm your host, Ava Fredericks. Thank you all for coming out. Great crowd tonight. We have the Atlanta School Board candidates here with us tonight, which is going to be, I think, one of the more important races because if let's look at our school system right now in Georgia, we're not doing very well on the national stage. So we have Reuben McDaniel here tonight. We also have Brenda Muhammad coming on, and Leslie. Yeah. So and Kathy Adams actually just called me She-Mate. Okay. All right. So let's get started. I want to introduce first our CEO and head of Newsmakers Live. Jim, welcome.
Just saying. Just saying. We're going to pay a few bills right now. First of all, I'd like to thank our sponsors, MHR International, Data Systems and Games, BES Business and Entertainment Services, and of course all of the elected officials who placed ads with us. Newsmakers Live is in its 9th year, 21st season. And we have done it like this, and we have a format that we call an infotainment format. It's usually, the precursor to Newsmakers is usually some entertainment, but we're doing a special election series, and that's what this particular season is all about. It's 5 weeks of talking about the most important and relevant races in the city of Atlanta. And we'd like to thank those who were not afraid to sponsor us because of the things that go along with political events. I'm going to turn you over to Ava Fredericks so she can continue on and we can begin to do Newsmakers. The Board of Education, the Atlanta School Board, that's a big deal here right now. Right now we have some major issues. We seem in this town to run all of the good people who come on the school board out of town. But we're gonna try to fix that this time. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Ms. Ava Fredericks.
Thank you. Okay, and I'm also sitting here with our moderator. Our show's moderator is Maynard Eaton. Maynard Eaton has been with Newsmakers for the long run. Over 20 seasons with Newsmakers.
Yeah, we've been here 9 years. Jim said 21 seasons. Started out talking politics.
As he said to me earlier, he's the infotainment, and I'm the entertainment. Well, we wanted to break the ice a little bit and go over a few things.
There's a lot going on in town this week. From the city's perspective, we had the crime on the court on the City Hall steps of Councilman Lamar Willis, who has been disbarred. And automatically or immediately, his opponent asked that he resign from office. In most cities, somebody that had that much to be ashamed of would not proudly say it's okay. This is Atlanta, and he is one of the mayor's top supporters. We've also had the pension problem come up this week. The city pension that the city officials flout as a great success may well be in jeopardy. The gentleman who engineered the investments has fled the city in disgrace. Larry Gray, I believe his name is a scam artist and a crook perhaps, and the ballyhoo engineered saving the city's pension plan may well be in jeopardy. Stay tuned for that. But again, we had so much going on with the city. I mean, one of the nicest things we saw last week was the city council paying tribute to C.T. Vivian. I got to give it to Michael Julian Bond. Whether he's our next mayor or not in 4 years, it'll probably come down to Michael Julian Bond, Kwanzaa Hall, and some unknown white candidates yet. And there will be.
Where's Steve?
Oh, Caesar, yes, I forgot. I didn't mean to forget Caesar, but yes, that's true. That's true. Excuse me. The one Caesar fan.
Two Caesar fans now.
No, I'm just joking. Caesar's a great guy. But I do think that Michael should be applauded for giving tribute and saluting some of these icons of the past. He's done a good job doing that, a superb job doing that. Some are suggesting, well, not as a ploy now, whether it's a political ploy or not, it's a nice touch. He does it well, and he does it with style. And those who are awarded, applauded, and acknowledged are grateful for it. And you can't ask for a better treatment. So things going on in the state too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the state's still dead, waiting for the city election before the state does anything of note.
That's usually what they do.
Dull state politics is good for it.
No, you know,
dull state politics.
it's not that dull. We still have, again, with the issue that you mentioned with Lamar Willis, we had the same thing, same problems there. The Democratic Party chairman had to step down, and now we have Du Bois Porter. And
he's in a big party, Rose Porter, former state representative,
state
a newspaper publisher.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a really great change in order to turn. I'm always trying to turn Georgia blue, so that's my own personal agenda. So, and I think he's going to take it there. Also, we have for the NAACP, they just elected the youngest new head, which would be Francis Johnson from Statesboro, 34 years old. So that's impressive. That's, I think, a big turn for the NAACP.
Working with civil rights organizations, as I do SCLC, it's imperative that young people get involved, have something to say, because obviously the torch has to be passed. And the issues remain much the same. I mean, right now, the Supreme Court heard today an affirmative action case from the University of Michigan. Well, affirmative action doesn't impact me, I get you, but younger people, particularly in schools, are impacted by what could happen. And you're a Republican.
Far from that.
Your Attorney General has now come out in favor of those who want to squash affirmative action. Because in fact, Georgia has done away with affirmative action as it has been known, as it was known under Maynard Jackson, and now has some other, he calls, creative process.
And how's that creative process working?
I don't know. Maybe Mr. McDonald gives some ideas, since he's a
McDaniel.
since he's a school chief and a numbers man, smart, intelligent, political. But many of those suspect it's not going nowhere near as well as it once was.
Right.
That's true.
That's usually the case, though. I think that's a statewide thing as well as a nationwide thing right now, where our Republicans like to take ideas that we have and squash them, but not bring new ideas to the table. It's the name, the party of no. So,
when we talk about politics, I'm going to move on now. We talk about politics, unless there's something else you might have to say about the dry, dull state politics. You'll have your turn to come next year, but right now it's dry.
wait, Michelle Nunn is running for Senate, so I think it's still getting less dry.
Well, she's dry, though.
And Jason Carter still, maybe taking a seat.
But Michelle Nunn is a very interesting addition to the Democratic Party lineup, and may well be a formidable candidate against the lightning rod candidates on the Republican side. I can't wait to see Karen Handel go up against those Republican wads, some big boys. I mean, she's going to light them up. But to see a race between Handel and Nunn, or even better, Karen Handel, Republican side, and the news lady, Steve Miles, that would be an interesting race. It would be hard to pull off, but it would be a fantastic race. Two verbal, highly intelligent women. But I'm in your part of it. I'm in your part of it. Why does Connie sound
Okay, I'm on the state committee for the Democratic Party of Georgia, and she came and spoke to us at our elections when we elected Du Bois Porter, and it was a bit of a shock. I think we were all somewhat stunned I'm not saying because I always agree with this. In voting, regardless of whether the candidate has a chance or not, you do have to give the people a choice. And I think she is making herself available to be that choice.
She's an attractive candidate.
She is. And I think she has a lot of hometown support from her community. She has to visit her community. That's the only problem. This is a statewide race, so you have to be out throughout the state. You have to be in each corner, from Statesboro to Albany.
Money, media, and message.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of money.
Well, I'm gonna move on. Money, media, messages, and some mother's milk campaigns, and I think the chairman, the president of the Atlanta School Board has that combination. He has the money, the media, and the message. I'd like to introduce our school board president, Reuben McDaniel. Welcome to Newsmakers, please.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. We're glad to be here.
I see you're such a formidable candidate. Your opponent doesn't want to sit next to you.
He didn't want to see how good looking I was next to him. You understand?
Why are you doing this? You look like a very intelligent man. Why subject yourself to what has been described as a colossal mess? And a direct question, why are you doing it? But also, are you part of the problem or part of the solution?
Well, you know, as you may recall, I came here to Atlanta in 1999 to work with Maynard Jackson.
Yes.
And talk about a man who loved the city. That was a man that loved the city. And he challenged me to get involved beyond just our business success and really reach into the community, something that I was passionate about, and having to be education. And when I went down to schools in South Atlanta and saw the types of education they were getting versus my daughter who was up in one of the Buckhead schools, I just knew that I had to do something different. And for me, it really is about how can you take that kindergartner bundle of potential, there's nothing else to make it, and really see how they can be successful. You know, my mother's a story made. My mother grew up in Philadelphia, poor as she could be, and ended up Secretary of State only because of education. Really? And so we asked, you know, who's part of the solution? You know, my main competitor.
There's some. Your critics say that you've been there and haven't done anything. You know that. You've heard the carping against you.
Yeah. When you talk about what's going on in Atlanta public schools the past several years, we've made some really difficult decisions over the past 3 to 4 years. But under my chairmanship, we have saved $16 million from a budget. We have increased our test scores. We've reduced dropout. We are on the right track, but more has to be done. It's not being done quick enough because we inherited from my competitor, Mr. Riley here, the largest cheating scandal in the country, where basically because the board paid no attention to what was going on, people were allowed to really hurt our children. And so I have been solving that problem.
The superintendent, wasn't it? I mean, didn't she run the schools, and the school board was really just a rubber stamp committee?
It is all about leadership, right? If you have great things, leadership gets credit. If you have bad things, leadership gets credit. I think that Dr. Hall's real legacy will be that she did not pay attention to the day-to-day, and she basically did not want to hear the truth about what her students were or were not doing. It is hard work to get students to perform, but it can happen, and we see it all the time.
Well, did you question any of the results? I mean, those fantastic from dummy to scholar overnight in one session. I mean, weren't they kind of too good to be true kind of results?
They were too good to be true, and I did personally question those results because, you know, as a practical matter, you can see incremental change. But you're not going to see a school go from number 3 at the bottom to the top 10 in a year. It just doesn't. Unfortunately, it would be great if it did, but that just doesn't happen. And I think Dr. Hall was so concerned about people saying, well, you're not effective and the PR is not good, that she was not willing to look at the reality.
Is the school board muzzled and de facto controlled by the Chamber of Commerce? Are you?
I certainly am not. I'm not controlled by anybody. The good news about
your wife.
Well, I got to bring that up, man. I mean, the good news about I really do it for passion. I'm not trying to get additional political office. I don't do business with any of my.
It's not a stepping stone for you.
It's not a stepping stone. It's not a business move for me. It's because I really believe in these kids. And so, if you look at what I did at North Atlanta High School, the worst political move I could have made was to call out the racism going on at North Atlanta High School. 65% of the African-American students at North Atlanta High School said they felt racially discriminated against. I was the one who stood up to help those children. And it was not politically expedient to do it.
No.
It wasn't Chamber of Commerce to do it. It wasn't political city, but it was because you had kids who were being disenfranchised, really being driven out of the school, and that's just unacceptable to me.
And your point of myself, yeah, but it was totally political because you weren't getting enough black support, and you did that to win black support. Some might argue that. I'm playing devil's advocate here with you. Was it a political move?
It's absolutely not a political move. But again, I'm for all students. And people who know me know that. And it's interesting, a lot of people say, well, Reuben, I don't see you in the community, I don't see this. I don't try to publicize what I do or what I don't do, but I can tell you, I had an event the other night with some young men from South Atlanta High School who literally had us in tears because of the work I'd done for them behind the scenes, giving them some hope. And there are 40 young men now who will be successful because of the work that I've done. There's a young lady at Georgia State now who came to me, our highest SAT score. I said, where are you going, young lady? She said, well, my money's not right. I went out and raised $10,000 of scholarship money for that kid because she deserved to have a real education. And she's now at Georgia State doing great.
Talk a bit about what Maynard Jackson brought you in town to do and what you did do, and how does that work with your political career? I mean, do they go in tandem? You came here on a mission to do something and make money.
Yes, I mean, Maynard Jackson has had an investment banking firm,
Right.
and
You're a money man.
it was a good investment banking firm, but he didn't have anybody at the helm who had the technical expertise in the business. And he and I worked together for several years, and then, interesting tidbit, he and I have the same birthday, March 23rd. And he called me on my birthday and said, Reuben, I want to be president and CEO of my firm because I want to take it to another level. And so we took it from being a $500,000 revenue firm to being a multi-million-dollar, above $10 million firm by growing revenue and increasing from being just a local firm to being national. But even as Maynard was in business and I was in business, it wasn't just about us. It was about employing young African Americans who were interested in finance. It was about being part of the professional associations. It was about giving back to the city and the schools and other places. And, Maynard was never one to shy away from an issue. And so really to his last day, he was working hard to make sure that his business and his politics and his personal all lined up.
Are they lined up now for you? Is the company still successful? Are you still making big money doing what you were brought here to do?
I've never made big money, but a little bitty money I've made. One of the things that I've seen is from a financial perspective that really upsets me is athletes and entertainers who make a lot of money and then go out of business. And so my client base now is all athletes and entertainers.
Really?
And we work very hard to make sure that their core financial needs are met. And so they're investing and reinvesting in things that are very, very vigorous here. One of our clients owns 11 Burger Kings in Atlanta, Old National Highway. They employ our folks doing good stuff. The record business is just a way and a means to the end for that. And so that's what we're really helping our clients do. And so for me, it's a passion. And it goes whether it's my educational passion or whether it's my business passion. It really is about helping young people see some potential but know that they can actually get it and helping them do that.
But as successful as you are in high finance, a choice profession, would you hire any Atlanta public school product to work for you, given the state?
That's an excellent question because I've hired a lot of Atlanta public school products to work for me over the years because it's important. Just because you have a cheating scandal or just because you have low graduation rates, there are young students, black, white, and brown, in the school system who are doing great things. They're going to Harvard, Brandeis, great colleges, and we've hired many of them as interns and some as employees, and they've done great work for us. So, yeah, I mean, we really want people who have heart because you can teach them the numbers, but it's heart that really makes a difference.
Has the school system been scandalized, brutalized, and really thrown under the bus to teachers? I mean, was all this necessary? And do you really think we had that many teachers, a teaching stock that was that sordid, that scandalous?
Here's what I think happened. We had 3,700 teachers who come to school every day and work very hard for our kids. And they were being challenged to get results. And someone said to them, get them any way that you can. Now, for 3,685 of them, they said, we're going to work as hard as we can to make this happen. But there was a group of them that said, oh, whatever it takes. I know what that means. that's code for do some things that we aren't proud of. But that should not taint the great teachers who come here for little pay and work very hard with these students. If you see, it's one thing to see them in the classroom, but staying after school, going to ball games, taking kids home from school, making sure they're fed. I mean, it is a love of teaching that we don't appreciate. And people, the newspapers love to sell the scandal and love to sell, but at the end of the day, it is about the kindergarten or the third grade or the middle school or the high school child who has a teacher who's really doing wonderful things for them. That's what excites me every day.
How do you sell the school system? Why do you want the 51% dropout rate? Schools.
Let's be clear. 51% four-year graduation rate, only a 12% dropout rate. But anyway, I'm a numbers man.
Say that again. Say that again.
51% of our students graduate in a 4-year time frame. That's not acceptable. But they don't all drop out. Some of them take 5-6 years to graduate. And what we're doing is creating other ways for them to get their degree, whether it's through virtual high school or through vocational education or through cafe-style education. But
you're saying all these youngsters aren't just wandering?
They're not just wandering the street. If we had 49% of our students dropping out, our whole city would be filled with students walking around. That's just not the case. Now, as a practical matter, if you look at our African-American males, that's a problem. We have 48 or so thousand people who go through the Fulton County jail system every year. 89% are African-American males. That's a problem. And so one of the things we as a school system can do is fix that problem, address that problem. That's something I'm very committed to doing.
What do you say to your peers, your colleagues, your classmates, former classmates, people you wine and dine with about Atlanta Public Schools? Are you embarrassed by it, challenged by it, or think you've been, put upon by it?
What I say is I challenge them. I say, don't sit here and drink your $12 glass of wine and not go down to South Atlanta High School and buy a young man a $12 lunch and talk to them about what careers look like. It's all of our issue and challenge.
It's our responsibility.
And so it's easy to talk about embarrassment and all of that, but at the end of the day, if you knew how simple it was to change. We have a kid that I went to, he said, Mr. McDaniel, I want to be a dancer. I don't know if the kid can dance or not. I said, what do you do? He says, well, I just in the school dance thing. He said, well, why don't you go downtown with some dance students, do some stuff with Kenny Leon? He says, I don't have enough money for a MARTA card. I said, so between you and your dream is a MARTA card. I called a buddy of mine, and the young man now has MARTA cards. Right? It's an easy thing, but you have to be willing to get in the trenches and do it. And I can't just sit back and say, hey, you guys ought to do that. I'm in there, and I'm leading, and I want people to follow me, because if we go down and embrace these young men and young women, they will be successful. They want to be successful.
And you can lead the way in doing that?
I've demonstrated the last 2 years as chairman of the school board that I've led the way in a lot of change in the school system, increased in our test scores, both high school and our elementary school test scores are up now. Our dropout rate is down now. Our effective teacher rate is way high. And so when you look at what we have done so far, but we're just starting. And if we want to start over again with new people, we'll be back at square zero.
The elephant in the room in this conversation right now, and perhaps the biggest problem you face or political challenge you face, is the selection of a new superintendent. The mayor, a friend of yours, I imagine, a political confidant, has said he wants to spend $600 grand, some from private money, to hire a superintendent. I think I understand you said, no, we don't need that. Could you explain where we are with that?
Yeah, what the mayor's really saying is that we as a city will do whatever it takes to get the best superintendent for Atlanta, here to Atlanta, and money will not be an issue. If I can't, as a board member, convince the taxpayers to pay whatever it takes to get, that's on me. And so it may take us $600,000 to get a superintendent. I don't believe that it will. But if it does, I need to be able to come to taxpayers and say, this is what we need to spend to get this quality superintendent, and then we need to hold that superintendent accountable. Now, we put together a profile that has a $300,000 to $325,000 salary range, which is the high end of superintendents. Yeah. I'm sure we can attract a great superintendent within that. But it really is a metaphor, not so much a number. It's a metaphor for we as a city will not rest until we get the best superintendent here. And guess what? If they don't do their job, we'll get them out, we'll get the next one in.
But also is it a metaphor to say, we're so desperate, we'll pay you this much money to come in and save us?
It is not about desperation. It is about...
Because the story, as a journalist, the story's going to be, you can pay this much money, but you better produce.
And you better produce. But if you take the job as a superintendent of a great city like Atlanta, with great vision, with great resources, you better come in here and do the job. And that's what we'll expect. We'll hold them accountable to that.
Is there anyone out there who's done that? I mean, look across urban America. Nobody has a school system they're necessarily proud of.
Yeah, it is not. If it was an easy answer, a lot of people would have done it. And I think we have to be very creative in how we look at our leadership, our curriculum instruction leadership, and really create an environment where we can have success. But it's not going to be, you know, it's one of those things like a lot of things in life, like dieting. It's simple, but it's not easy.
You would understand that. Nice of you.
You get me, I got to get you a little bit, right?
Finally, tell us, I'm going to let you go here, but you're an engaging young man and obviously successful in what you do. Again, why are you doing this? Are you making a difference? Can you make a difference?
I absolutely know that my work has made a difference. And the difference doesn't have to be a nationwide change in how schools are run. What it has to be is, child by child, did you make a difference today in some child's life? Whether it is at Maynard Jackson High School, named after one of my greatest friends, mentors, father to me, that school was awful.
Yeah, it was.
And I said to the administrators, I said, look, guess what? If it's named Maynard Jackson, it's not going to be awful. Stephanie Johnson, the principal of Maynard Jackson, came in. We went from having 4 to 5 incidents, that is, fights or whatever, a day, to having 1 a month under this woman's leadership. Those students are now taking advanced placement classes, honors classes, and that school is now something that Maynard would be proud of.
A lot of
his
vocation
family's
classes too, right?
proud of. So we've created, in 1 year, we've changed the outcome for those students. So I have made a difference. I know I can make a difference, and I really do because it's a passion of mine. Again, I have other successes otherwise, but there's nothing like taking a young mold of potential and seeing that execute into a great student.
Crystal ball is forming. Will the Atlanta public schools continue to be battered, or are they on their way back?
I predict that within a 2-year period of time, people will say, I don't know how in the world they did it in 2 years, but Atlanta Public Schools is now one of the finest school systems in the country, certainly the finest one in the state.
Reuben McDaniel, thank you, buddy.
Thanks so much. Appreciate you having me on. All the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, a nice applause for our school board president.
That was great. You know, I don't know if a lot of you guys know this, but Reuben McDaniel is one of Black Enterprise considered him one of the 75 most powerful blacks on Wall Street.
Really?
Yeah, he's a big deal.
Let me come on back.
So okay. So and not only that,
Get paid.
but it's seriously, if you look at the amount like that you get for sitting on the school board in Atlanta. The Atlanta Board of Education doesn't pay top dollar, and it takes a lot of your time. So,
I could have said something smart.
what comment did you have, Maynard? So I mean, no, seriously, really.
No,
what
I commend him for what he does and how he does it. I mean, you take a lot of grief from sitting on the school board. Brenda Muhammad, another friend of ours who should be here soon. You take a lot of grief. But again, it's politically. What does the electorate want? You want to play with the same hand you've been dealing with, or do you want a new deck, a fresh deck of cards? Mm-hmm. Do new folks mean a new change and a new beginning, or just new problems?
or
Because
new
they don't
people
know anything.
who don't know,
Yeah.
right? What?
Or do you ride the horses that have gone through the war, that have been tested by battle, and say let's keep the tested good ones. I think that's the dilemma Atlanta has in this fight. We have been embarrassed by this the bungling and the criminality of the school system. I think, in my estimation, Paul Howard may have bit off more than he can chew for political expediency, trying to indict all these teachers. They may not be found convicted, but the teachers who have gone through this process, who've been paraded before the cameras, who've been led through court, have had to hire high-priced attorneys, have lost their jobs, their reputation is ruined, and that's a nightmare. Mm-hmm. That, too, I hope the school board will find some way to repair the damage done to those who may not be guilty. Mm-hmm. Just because you're accused does not mean you're guilty.
It's true.
And those who are threatened either do it or hit the highway. I just think for a single mother a single parent, single mother who's a teacher, and you're told by some idiot who's your some area superintendent, this is the way it goes. Either you cheat or go. What do? You got to feed your kid.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, but you have another. You want to come up,
Jim?
Jim?
You want to find time to wrap it up?
We can-
Yeah, I know. I always like to draw you in.
I get in more trouble messing with you, Maynard. You know, one of the things that I asked myself about that whole cheating deal, in the North, in schools, there are standards that have to be met at every school, at every level in every school, and the curriculum is pretty much the same. I think that what I see here is that you've got a bunch of teachers that were supposedly given the carte blanche to cheat. I think what you have is a bunch of teachers whose focus was on their own job security as opposed to the welfare of the children. I don't think anybody gave them a okay to cheat. I think what somebody did was put some pressure on them, which they've never experienced before, to perform. And because they were unable to perform, they cheated.
No.
Okay, now,
They
I
were
know.
told to cheat.
That's that. I don't believe that woman at the top. I think she's much smarter than that. She's a bright woman. She is not a dumb woman. She would never take that kind of a chance. She told her administrators, make sure these folk perform, make sure these numbers come up, and that focus, that trickled down to the principals and the assistant principals and to all those people that take long lunch breaks.
Called trickle-down theory.
Yeah. But the instruction
trickled down.
But the instruction was not get a lead pencil and cheat. That was not what she said. She said perform. They couldn't
Or
perform.
else.
Or else, exactly. Now, that's the real world. That's the real world. The real world is that if you have a job and your boss tells you to perform or else, you perform or you get fired.
But Jim, you just said how intelligent she was. And she's come from up north. It was just a well-respected woman when she got here. Even a dummy could look at those numbers, how those numbers change and realize something's got to be a foul here.
Listen,
And she trotted around the country. She trotted around getting awards as a National Teacher of the Year based on bogus numbers and profited.
But you know what? Here's the thing. There are those of us who think we can show up like that. See, there are those of us who believe that we can show up like that because we've seen it before.
Say what before?
In other words, she thought that it was real. I believe she thought it was real. Most people thought it was real because that's why she got away with it. Until some probably some disenfranchised individual who's no longer part of the team looked at it and said, hey, hold up, they're cheating.
No, when they went to the next grade and they couldn't perform, that's when they said, what if I got here?
But then based on your theory that was what was supposed to happen, then nobody should have said anything. That's my whole point. If there was a conspiracy, when you reached that point, nobody would have said anything.
I think
They would have kept it moving. But at the end of the day, that's when it became exposed. So at the end of the day, the reach for excellence is what we're talking about here. We're talking about the mediocrity that exists in political. Oh, I got to stop. My wife is coming.
See? Oh, now we know what's happening here.
I think what we seem to leave out of that argument though is
That's what the teachers did when the superintendent came around.
okay. Let me just say this. Hold on 1 second. Okay. All I want to say is this. If you have to work with the teachers, it's a joint thing. You can't say my child is a C student and then all of a sudden they're A student. You have to question it. And if you don't question it, don't blame it on the administrators. That's all I'm saying.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Eleanor, and she signs my checks, and she has a very good point. So,
See, that's the same thing the teacher said.
Yeah, well,
The superintendent signed it.
Exactly. And it's by any means necessary. They were darned if they do. They were darned if they don't. And you have to look at the school system right now.
No, the students were darned if they do.
Exactly.
Because that's who got hurt.
My mother is a teacher, and you should see some of the kids that come in on test day. They come in late. They come in without, pencils. They come in with their hair braids too tight, so they have a headache and they can't even focus on the test.
Let's end this on this note. I think I do applaud Reuben McDaniel for being the only one of 4 invited school board challengers and candidates to come and face us, to answer the questions, and have the authenticity to sit here before us. Brenda Muhammad was somebody we like, but when she's not here, maybe there's another forum. But the challenges did not come.
All right, we thank you for coming out. I'm told that they're on their way. However, hopefully we will still be up when they get here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for coming out. The school board issues are vast. They are important to our community, and they're important to the rest of what happens in Atlanta on a political basis. Certainly, Mr. McDaniel, is it Reuben, has done a fine job. He's continuing to do a fine job, I'm sure, at a great deal of personal sacrifice. We thank him for coming to Newsmakers, and Newsmakers has always been able to do this. It's always been able to separate those who are truthful and true to our community from those who are simply political animals. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Newsmakers.